Okay, um, basically I got a Phantom 3 Professional and I'm not really a camera buff, so I've been trying to find a way of sorting out to get reasonable videos. It's not so bad when you've got springtime and this sort of thing, when you've got all the colours, but as you see here, it's pretty well, shall we say, black, grey, white with a few odd splashes of colour of cars and stuff, but it's very difficult to get a balance of a good video. So I have been asking for examples from people to help, but it seems that people are not really ready to commit themselves to putting any numbers. So okay, fair enough. I have the histogram showing on screen, and I expected to see quite a lot left and right, but it seems to have a lot to the left and high peak um, in the middle. So anyway, I'm playing around with the rotary wheel. I'm not in auto. Settings customs with negative as some advise. I've got set as 50 frames per second on 1920 by 1080. As you can see by the just under and slightly to the right of the green in-flight GPS thing, there's the camera setting details there. I play around and I see what happens when I turn the rotary wheel, and a little bit of a surprise that it's in there. So I've got custom, I think I got -1 and the various negative figures that people talk about. I've got it's in normal mode. I think later I do decine like. Anyway, it will be shown on the thing. Now, playing with this histogram, I find that if I put that big peak in the middle, it's not too bad what I see on the screen. And then I start to think about, well, okay, maybe it's not just that big peak. Maybe it's the block itself, even with a little bit. So if I later on I start to move it so that the histogram sits basically arcing across the middle. Okay, the big bit may be more to the right, but I'm putting the whole range of that histogram more into the middle, and it appears to be better. What surprises me is how quickly or how much the compensation works on the ISO and everything. You see the ISO flicking around from 100, 200, 400, depending on which way it's facing, on how much white and so on it sees, which I was surprised. I set it as I took it out of auto, and I expected to see the ISO and things like that stay more steady, but they do jump around. Now you can see the blue, you can see the blue of the tractor, the blue of the blocks, and the red plastic. It seems to be showing up quite well. The coffee cream colour of the house seems to be showing up. Not too much definition in the contours of the snow, but then of course it's white and it's not that much. So I'm wearing a red jacket. You wouldn't believe it, but I am wearing a red jacket and a blue hat, which you start to see. I'll start to play around with that rotary wheel again while we're panning round. It doesn't seem too bad. That's a green rubbish bin. So red boat, blue tractor. Everything else pretty well is grey and white, you know. So anyway, so we'll move across and see about just panning around in this area with the trees and so on, to see what we get, and watching that ISO and everything change. So yeah, I'm on 50 frames per second, like I say, and surprised that that ISO changes so much as you pan round, even with what you don't think is a great change in saturation of white and so on. The Phantom seems to think there is a hell of a lot, so it swaps that ISO around a lot. So yeah, but anyway, that's I'll keep going. It's a long video. To be quite honest, this is not so much for people watching on YouTube or for forums. I mean, this is really for my own experimentation to try and learn a bit more about how to balance out my videos better. Not too much on the photographs. I take very few stills, to be quite honest. I'm not a great stills person. I've got my digital SLR and stuff for that. But yeah, the odd stills on this are good, but I generally only do video. It's very rare I do stills. So keeping that large bit. Okay, here we go. As you can see, I've had it on custom. I'm just flicking through to see what happens on with the as you choose each thing, and you can see that it has an effect. Auto. Well, yeah, okay. Well, as I said, I'm not in auto, and actually, yeah. At the start, I was in custom, which you see has got a lot of negatives in it, but yeah. So yeah, just flicking through, seeing what happens when you choose each thing. So it's yeah, interesting. So I think I stayed with DJI Light in the end. Oh, excuse me, DJI Light in the end, because I keep reading that okay, D-Log is supposed to give you everything buried in it that you can do and so on, but DJI Light is has that less of a jumping around, and you know it's more of the cinematic style. So anyway, like I say, I'm not a camera buff, so ignore where I get wrong. I'm just trying to find out what I can do with it. So I've decided that I'll play around with this range again. I'm in Cinema, you know, D-Cine, and keeping that block instead of the big peak in the center seems to give me better. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it seems to. Yeah. Give it some height. So I'm just wondering if during actual videoing of stuff, whether I should have the histogram showing and just alter it as I'm flying. Interesting. Never used it before. A lot of people talk about it, so I thought I'd give it a try. I think really one of the things is maybe DJI, if you know, they're better at this than I am. So maybe just for me to use the cloudy, sunny, and so on, and with the histogram to keep it in the middle range, so to speak. So yeah. It also, I noticed that the histogram, it does have a bit of delay compared to the where the camera is looking. So if you're panning through, the histogram doesn't always keep up, but it's just that quarter second or something, just behind. Obviously, that's the light bridge data back to the controller that creates that. But that doesn't seem too bad. I'm keeping the block of the histogram in the middle, and that doesn't seem to be too bad. A little bit wishy-washy, I think, but anyway, it seems to be not too bad. So we're coming near to the end. So that's interesting. I flick the camera down to look down at the snow itself, and you see it's just one solid peak slap bang in the middle, because it's all white. There's virtually no colour variation or shades there. So yeah, solid peak, bang, and now back to the house and everything, and we start to get other colours and everything coming in. So okay, so that's it. So thank you. Bye bye.